All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud, as always, to welcome in the one and only Michael Savage, host of The Savage Nation and New York Times bestselling author, and his new book could not be more timely. It's Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama. Michael, welcome back, my friend.
Yeah, Charlotte equals scorched earth. That's Obama's legacy.
Well, you know,
hatred of white people and violence. What a great legacy this cockamamie moron has left this country.
He hasn't said boo about what we saw. I just showed
they're doing what he wants to be done. Didn't his good friend George Soros just give Black Lives Matter $70 million to riot? George Soros is a war criminal as far as I'm concerned. And if Donald Trump becomes president, we need to have a trial as to the agitation paid for by this emigre who allegedly fled Nazism, and look what he's doing to this country.
But, Michael, if Hillary becomes president, they will rewrite the rules for cops to where they won't be able to shoot if they perceive a threat. They won't be able to shoot if they think their safety or the safety of others is in danger.
Well, we could argue over this. I think you're 100% wrong on Donald Trump.
No, not Trump. Not Trump. I said Hillary. I said Hillary.
No, but I watched the video. I'm sorry. The first shooting was a man who had no gun in his hand. He had no gun. His car broke down on the side of the road. Now, okay, he didn't listen to her orders. The punk cop who got scared and killed him. The fact is, he's dead. She killed him for no reason. He had no gun. So she panicked. You know, look, we can argue over this all day long, but Steve, not every cop shooting is justified. And the fact of the matter is, I've supported the police. I've given them money. I've bailed cops out of jail. There are cops who panic. There are cops who are not capable of making a split decision. So we could argue over this forever. The fact is, I don't disagree with Donald Trump in that case. Now, that's not what the rioting is in the next case. And nor does it justify burning, killing, looting, as you well know. They're using it as a justification for civil violence. And that's the real story here, is how every time there's an incident, right or wrong, the riots occur. The question is, who is behind the riots? They're white agitators from out of the areas that come in. They're communists. This is equivalent to the hardcore communists that I've warned America about for years now. This has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. It has everything to do with bringing down this nation. George Soros funded that thug group Black Lives Matter. The fact of the matter is they are a criminal organization at this point. Stop with sitting here and, oh, Black Lives Matter. Everyone's life matters. And I don't care what they call themselves. If they're breaking the law, bring in the National Guard and arrest all of them. That's my position.
Well,
let's put aside my position, Steve. Scorched earth. Restoring the country. I'm so excited. Restoring the country after Obama. What's intriguing here, Steve, it's a big story. The New York Times list will list this as a #4 book the first week of publication. Big story. It actually beat the other two books they made #2 and 3.
Congratulations.
Why are they doing that? Well, the #1 book is O'Reilly's book on World War II. My book was actually #2. Why would they put a liberal's book as #3? Because they don't want to show a trend going on in this country.
Right.
The trend is very clear. Two conservative authors, two conservative books, #1, #2. This tells us something about where the election is going, right? I mean, it tells us that the populist movement is surging, not only in the voting, which we're going to see probably in November, unless they steal it altogether with electronic voting, absentee ballots. That's what really worries me. But in the bookstores, people are going out in droves to buy conservative books right now. They're voting in the bookstores first, Steve. It's a huge story.
And Michael, as you've alluded to on your radio show, and we got 40 seconds left and we have a whole nother segment, Hillary's book that she supposedly wrote with Cain, it sold, what, 5,000 copies, 3,000 copies?
2,900 copies. That should tell you everything you need to know. If I ran for the presidency and it was a fair election, I'd get more votes than Hillary Clinton right now.
All right, stay where you are. We're coming back with the one and only Michael Savage. I have not asked him yet about Teddy. We will see. The last time we had Michael on, he wrote a book about Teddy, and Teddy made a wonderful appearance. So we'll let you know. So a little suspense. We're coming back with Michael Savage, author of Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama, right here on America Talks Live. Do not go away.
Back against so-called right to work. Right to work is wrong for workers and wrong for America. Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody. Nobody should be fooled.
I got to tell you, we're rejoined by Michael Savage, of course, the host of the Savage Nation on radio all across this great country of ours every day, and New York Times best-selling author. He's followed up Government Zero with a wonderful, very important new book, Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama. Michael, have you seen that video that she did to a labor group where she looked awful? She was shouting. I mean, it looked like they pulled someone off the street and said, here, read this on camera, and they never did it before.
Well, look, everyone knows who's watching her that she has neurological problems. You have to have a little compassion for her. She's an elderly woman. She's sick. She shouldn't be running for the office, but she's a power-mad woman, as we well know, and there's so much at stake that she'll run until the worst possibility could occur. There's a lot of people saying she's not making it to the finish line. She's like an old nag on a racetrack who people are saying cannot complete the last few laps of that track. Donald, on the other hand, from a lifetime of meatloaf and mayonnaise, apparently is getting stronger as he goes on. I remember when he was on my show a year or two ago, I said, where do you get the stamina from? He said, my mother and father. Because I know his diet is terrible. I mean, you want to talk about cholesterol. He loves meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Typical old-line American diet. But the fact is, he's a strong man. They're trying to, of course, deflect the scandals around her. The Clinton Foundation slush fund, the foreign donations, the missing emails. God knows the scandals that surround her. And, of course, the vermin in the media are saying turn it on him. They can't turn it on him. The more they try to, the more ludicrous she looks and the better he looks. You know he's up in almost every poll. He's liable to beat her, Steve. The question is, will they steal the election with electronic voting, number one, absentee ballots, number two? What's with the foreign company who counts our votes? Where'd that come from? I've been reporting on that for a long time, not only with Scorched Earth, I reported on it in Government Zero.
Yep.
Who turned our election ballot counting over to a company in Spain? Who owns this company? How does this happen? How have we lost our sovereignty in 8 years under this gangster criminal in the White House? And by the way, here's something fun for you, Steve. The New York Times made a big mistake. When this comes out in their book review, notice what it says, Scorched Earth. I've got it in advance, right? But
yep.
let me read the subtext.
Yeah, please, please.
By Michael Savage. The radio host discusses what will happen after the administration of President M.A.O. Malbama. I named him Malbama a few years ago. It's been picked up widely. Why they would pick that up, of all things, is amazing. Because I never called him Malbama on the cover. The cover says Restore America Country After Obama.
Right.
They changed it to what I said, President Malbama. Because he is like President Mao, like Chairman Mao, who had the great leap forward that led to 60 million deaths of fellow Chinese under his brutal communist dictatorship. You say, well, you're making a big leap here. How do you go from this nice constitutional scholar from Chicago to this mass murderer Malbama? Well, you know, even dwarfs started small. Great oaks from little acorns grow. I will remind everyone in this audience, this is no joke. Words have effect. When Hillary goes before the Congressional Black Caucus, which is offensive, by the way, just the statement, what do you mean Black Caucus, Hispanic Caucus? Where'd this come from, all of these anti-American fragmented groups? So nevertheless, she goes before the so-called Congressional Black Caucus last weekend, and she says, I'm going to speak to white people directly about the violence in America.
Yep.
Remember that speech?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A few days later, black mobs burned Charlotte half to the ground, beat people up in the street who are white. She's setting off a race war just like him. But let me get back to Mao Zedong. I spend the whole chapter on Mao Zedong, but I spend the big chapter on what happened in Cambodia under a nice constitutional legal scholar named Pol Pot. You see, he was just like Obama, a mild-mannered, nice man who himself would not commit violence. He went to Paris. He studied Marxism. I'm talking about Pol Pot. He comes back to Cambodia, and he institutes the Marxist plans that he read in Paris in a textbook. He created a group of young thugs called the Khmer Rouge.
Yep.
People remember them. 12, 13-year-old thugs like Black Lives Matter. He called them the Khmer Rouge as young soldiers. He sent them out in the street. They beat up middle-class Cambodians. Anyone who wore glasses was considered a counter-revolutionary. It led to the death of 3 million Cambodians. Pol Pot didn't intend that originally, did he? All he wanted was fairness. All he wanted was equality in Cambodia. Once you loose this thuggish mentality on the streets, anything can happen. And Steve, we may be in the infancy of this, but nevertheless, this is a terrible road that Obama has taken us down. Hillary will make it much worse. That's what I'm trying to say. America has a clear choice. America or chaos. Trump or chaos. And Hillary represents not only more of Obama, but worse than Obama. She wants to bring in 550% more Muslim refugees. Did you notice that after these riots, we've all forgotten about the terror attacks in New York City last week, Steve?
Yeah, good point.
Suddenly the Muslim terror is gone. Isn't it rather convenient? Am I the only one to notice that only a few days after the Muslim terror attacks in Manhattan, in Minneapolis, where a Somali Muslim went and stabbed people, 8 of them, in a mall, suddenly it's off the pages, and all we see now are the riots in wherever they are now, the riot du jour, whatever it's over today. I guess they needed a new pair of sneakers or new clothing. This is an outrage, and it's time for America to recognize it's not happening by accident. These riots are organized. These riots are paid for. The biggest supporter of them is George Soros, who gave Black Thugs Matter $70 million, Steve. This has to stop. There has to be consequences. There will be no consequences under Obama. There'll be no consequences under Hillary, other they will get worse. And I know Trump is a flawed candidate. We know he has this, is that. And he's not a pure conservative on social. We know all of that.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter because he's the only chance we have right now to affect a change in outcome. With her, it's over.
Oh,
you know, talk radio won't exist if she becomes president.
Michael, I have been saying for a long time, I know you've certainly spoken about it too, that it's the Second Amendment everybody focuses on when we talk about a Hillary Supreme Court. And yes, that's a concern, a big concern. But people don't understand the First Amendment will be eviscerated to an extent because we'll have hate speech laws like they have in Europe, like they have in Canada. And you're absolutely right. Your shows, my shows, they will not be able to be as they are in any way, shape, or form with a Hillary Supreme Court.
Well, the liberals will share that because they'll say we don't want hate speech.
Right.
We only want our speech. And our speech isn't hateful. It's just about justice. We know how communism works, Steve. We're fighting for the soul and survival of freedom in this country. Make no mistake about it. The old failing Harridan will destroy every vestige of freedom left in this nation. And she, my friends, and I think it's God's hand, by the way, operating right now with the eyes, the when she fell going in the, remember in New York 2 weeks ago?
Oh, my God. How come?
What
of
happened?
course,
She went down
9/11,
She went down like a slab of meat. The shoe fell off her foot.
It was awful. Let me ask you something, Michael, in the 2 minutes we have left. The federal complaint, the indictment against the bombing suspect here in New York, does not reference ISIS even once. This got great play on Fox News last night, and I think it deserves great play. They're purposely whitewashing ISIS, even though he had all kinds of books and paraphernalia and contacts and referenced them. Why?
Why? Because Obama is probably very sympathetic towards the Muslim Brotherhood. if not a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated the FBI, DHS. This is very risky for me to say, but it's time for everyone to speak up or we're all dead. We know the FBI has been under Obama. They're great field agents, but the people who are running the organization never say Islamic terrorism. DHS is run by a clown, a former Wall Street lawyer who has failed us on every level. Every level. Not only what happened in New York, what about all the other Muslim terror attacks? And he's still in power? Why? Who is Jay Johnson? Why is he running DHS? Why? To make sure that we don't see what's really going on. We're in very dangerous straits here. And if we think we're out of the water come Trump's win, if he wins, we're wrong.
Michael?
Steve, I want to send out a chilling memo to everyone out there. Obama is practicing a scorched earth policy in his last months of his despotic regime.
Yep.
And I warned America in the last months of Bush. It was in the September of that year that I said, watch out for what Bush does in his last months. He's a fiscal socialist. We then had the housing collapse, remember?
Right, we got 20 seconds, 10 seconds, Michael. I know
we're going to have another event and maybe a big catastrophic event under President Obama. Read all about it in Scorched Earth.
You got it.
Tell your friends
Michael,
we're down to the wire.
Thank you, sir.
Steve.
Say hello to Teddy. Take care. We're coming back, folks. Don't go away.